Hey everyone, welcome back to NNDIY Spirit. In today's video, we are going to build and explain a complete Python chatbot called ChatPy Pro or SAM. What makes this chatbot special is that it's not just hard coded. It can actually learn new phrases, evaluate math expressions, tell the time, and persist memory across sessions using a JSON file. In this tutorial, we'll walk through every single line of this code so you understand exactly how it works under the hood. Let's dive right in. First, let's look at our imports at the top of the file. The imports date time gives us access to current date and time functions. The import JSON allows us to save and load custom chatbot responses to a file on the disk. And the random import helps us pick a random greeting response so the bot sounds more natural. Then, the import RE is Python's regular expressions library, which we will use for flexible pattern matching. The Next, on the line 7, we define a constant memory file. This stores the file path where all custom user taught responses will be saved. The next section will be about the main program flow and the execution loop. Now, let's move to the main function. We start by printing a welcome message to the console, and in line 12, we load any previously saved memory into a Python dictionary. In line 14, we start a infinite loop, and then we have a try and except block. In that, we have the user input and the script function to remove any unwanted white spaces in the front or at the end of the input. If the user gives a blank input, then the continue function goes over the loop and asks the user for the input again. Next, we check for exit commands. If the user has completed what he wanted and wants to exit the program, he or she can input by exit or quit to exit the program. The bot prints goodbye wishes and the function breaks. If it's a valid query, then the user input and the responses are passed to the get response function and the bot prints the reply. We wrap everything up by using the except keyword to except keyword interrupt and EOF error. It's of best practice to use a specific error that you want to catch instead of using base exception. We can indeed do that, but it can be problematic at some time. Let's see how memory persistence works. We define the load memory in order to load previously stored data in the JSON file and def save memory in order to save the new memory that we are going to teach the chatbot. Now we have the try and except block here. We open the memory file in a read mode in order to read the previously stored data in the JSON file. We use the keyword json.load in order to read what is in the file. If the file does not exist or if the file is corrupted, the except block catches the error and returns an empty dictionary. Now let's move to the save memory part. We define save memory and we open the memory file in write mode in order to write data into the JSON file, that is responses.json. Now we teach the bot how to respond to our queries using the json.dump keyword. We use the indentation 4 to write the dictionary back to disk nicely formatted. The next part or the section will be about teaching the bot dynamic responses. Now, for one of the coolest features, we define teach underscore bot with parameters user underscore input comma responses. Now, we use regular expressions here in order to check if the user input matches the format. Teach phrase is equal to response as given in the comment over here. Now we have match.group1 extract the trigger phrase and match.group2 extracting the custom answer response from this part, the input. We may say so in order for our understanding. Now we convert the trigger to lowercase, also strip it of extra white spaces at the beginning or at the end, and store it in our responses dictionary. Call the save memory function to update the responses.json and confirm to the user that the phrase was learned using the return function over here. The next part will be the core engine, response handler, and regex. Now we define the get response function, which is the core part of our chatbot. We then initialize a variable called cleaned underscore text, and then whatever our input is, our response is, we just, if it is in capital letters, we use the lower function to, of course, do that and strip off the extra white spaces in the beginning and at the end of our input. Then we check if it is in our responses, if it is stored already in our JSON file or something like that, which is in the dictionaries. We have key and value. If we put a key and then ask for the value, the custom answer, that is the response from the bot, we get that using this syntax. And next part is the teach part. When we like put in the input as teach and use a trigger and an answer, we return to the teach bot function which we previously saw. We go to this part and this part is initialized. And we know how this works from our previous section. Let's go into the next part. Now we have regular expressions here. If we say hi, hello, hey, greetings, the chatbot responds to us with a set of its own ways of greeting us, and it is all randomized using this a random function. And the next if statement is about the time, date, or day, whatever we may ask using this keyword, we may say, which is from the import date time module. We can also do this if you are new to Python. We can do this and we will have a problem over here. And the problem is this one. It is not defined right now. And now if we do this, it is defined. We can use sort forms over here if you need it though, but I don't need it right now because it is just used in one place, that is over here, and there are two date times. So in order not to confuse you people, we can use this. This is date time. We are calling the module, and this is a part of the module, we may say. And now we return the value in this form. These are the key words, we may say, to get the date, time, year, and everything. And the next two if statement is really basic. If you ask how are you, the bot will answer you the right way, like I'm running smoothly, how are you? And if you say fine, it will say like I don't know how to respond. So now we have to teach it how to respond, and we do it by the way I said already. And the last two part, that is the two if statements, are also basic. We If we input help, we'll get to know what the bot can do, and that is what was mentioned earlier, like the greetings to the console part, which I said, like type help to see what it can do or boy to exit. Okay, the last part, the calculator, which also uses the regular expression path over here. We then use the match.group1, and the group one is this bracket over here. And it has the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and this is division and decimal numbers, of course. And we have exceptions to handle errors, like if we divide 10 by 0, it will be an error. So in order to avoid those things, we have exceptions over here. And if we put syntax which is not mentioned above in the regular expression, we may get a syntax error. So in order to avoid that, we use this part. The try and except part is for that. And after all this, if you like don't even teach the bot and ask a query which it doesn't know from the responses we saw, then it will fall back to this, like I'm not sure how to answer that yet. So that's it. And the very last part of this is the lines 110 and 111. The main function, it runs only when the script is executed directly, which is standard Python practice. We usually standardize this if we are using this entire thing as a module elsewhere, like we create our own library. We just want to use a part of this. We don't need the entire thing to run in another program, which is something else. So that's it. If you liked this video, do subscribe, share, like it again, and do comment about your thoughts about the video and how I can make it better.